So good morning, everyone, and welcome to our webinar. So I hope everybody can see and listen into the coming 30 to 40 minutes. My name is Klaus. I'm responsible for the team here in Denmark, and I'm very proud today to have two of my dear colleagues presenting. First of all, I'm very pleased to see so many attending. We have, as I said, close to 90 people signed up. And I think this is a proof that this topic remains a very important area for us and for you, also in this challenging times. So I'm pleased to let you know that during this presentation, I hope you will get some true insights about how consumers feel about climate and traceability. And if you during the session have any questions, then please use the chat function to raise the question, and then we will make sure to address it after the presentation. So welcome everybody, and the scene is yours, Kadir.
Thank you, Klaus. Hello everyone, thank you for joining in. I'm Kadir. I'm one of the marketing executives here at Ipsos Denmark, and I'm very excited to share with you the insights that we've gathered from our recent study, which I'll kick off right away. First, we'll start out by talking about climate and the consumer attitude towards it. We will dive into how the consumer behavior has been evolving over the last decade and within the last year. In some of the areas you'll see, we've compared this year's data to 2009 and to 2019. And second topic of today's agenda is traceability. We will try to understand what Denmark thinks of traceability and how it can enable your business to meet a consumer demand. We conducted the fieldwork for this study in mid-April with 1,000 respondents nationwide in Denmark's general population. Without further ado, let's have a look at the current attention on climate. I will turn off my camera here so the quality of internet connection remains high, hopefully. So, what concerns Denmark right now? We asked consumers how they would distribute 100 billion kroners in various areas. Last year, compared to 2009, there was an increase in overall welfare. People were more focused on healthcare, education, elder care, daycare institutions. However, this year, we see a shift towards economy. Economy gets 1 out of the 4th of the total budget this year. In times of crisis, for instance, 2008 crisis, we saw that focus on economy was also higher in our 2009 study. However, when things are stabilized, we tend to more focus on welfare issues again, as we see here in 2019. We have another very nice report, specifically on COVID-19 and its impact on Danish society. The report also supports that Denmark is expecting financial challenges. More than 30% of the Danish population is either already having financial challenges or expect to have due to corona crisis. Therefore, we might be seeing a shift towards economy this year. If you'd like to see more of the COVID-19 report, please reach us out after the presentation. And when we look at climate though, we see that the attention on climate is still the same as it's been before. Nowadays, Danish politicians are talking about rebuilding the economy. They're discussing about investments should be made all in a way that it's supporting the climate. For example, discussions are that if we are to invest on new energy resources, it should be a green energy. According to the latest climate plan by the government, it was agreed that the reduction of CO2 emissions should be 70% by 2030. So climate is still important, and it goes hand in hand with the economy. But why climate is important? Because global warming is still considered to be a threat. There has been a huge decrease over the decade, and this year it's still regarded as a threat by almost half of the Danish population. Additionally, more than half of our respondents mentioned that they are still experiencing extreme weather conditions across the country. Hence, we believe that the climate is still important. But should Denmark be at the forefront in reducing emissions? However, we see that consumer attitude has changed. This could be a result of people's priorities changing under the crisis. Last year, it was every 6 out of 10 people in Denmark who believed that we should be the leading country in reduction of CO2 emissions. This could be also due to the politics. Last year, it was a time that climate topic was at its peak during the election campaigns. It was a very hot topic that everyone talked about. And still this year, it's 5 out of 10 people believing that we should be at the forefront of CO2 reductions. This is still quite important because it's half of the population. So in this case, what consumers want politicians to do? Let's have a look at that first. We see a similar decreasing trend here. The orange-yellow bar indicates last year's data we have, and you can see the decrease when looking at the dark blue bubbles. For instance, this year, consumer wants less focus on sustainable goods, actions on reducing CO2 emissions, taxes on products and consumptions. This could be due to the pandemic, because people want economic stability. Hence, we want a bit less focus on sustainable issues, and we don't want additional taxes. Nonetheless, when we look at it overall, there is still an expectation on these matters by half of the general population. What about companies? What consumers want companies to do? Consumers' attention on what should companies do has also decreased. Actions on using sustainable materials, reducing amounts of packaging, and again reducing CO2 emissions are one of those declined areas this year. Perhaps we could say that when people have doubts in economic stability, they're not likely to focus on sustainability as they did before. But again, even though we have seen a decrease in these trends, we are still talking about half of the population that thinks that politicians and companies should take actions. What about consumers themselves? What are they doing? We can see that they are also taking actions in various areas. Within the last year, more than half of Denmark has started to sort their waste, stopped or reduced the use of plastic bags, and they started to buy food waste from the supermarket. And one out of three of the population has started to buy more organic food. So we see a trend also in organic food that is on demand by the consumers. And we can see this demand in the organic food report that is shared by the state. Study shows that organic food sales have been increasing over the last 15 years. Even in the financial crisis in 2008, we don't see any drops in the sales here. And after the economy is restored, it's more stabilized in 2010-11, we see the increase pretty quickly. When we look at within the last couple of years, sales are doubled up. This shows that this is a deliberate choice of consumers that they buy organic. Even on the pandemic, we are still seeing growth in organic sales. Several CEOs of supermarket chains, online retailers, they have mentioned that they have increased their sales by more than 20%. Coop, Lidl, Nemlig are just one of those companies. Perhaps consumers want to stay healthy and take care of their bodies when a health crisis hits the country. But also, we need to recognize that when all conventional food has been sold out, people might have had no choice but to purchase organic food. What about when the pandemic is over? The other day I was biking through Nørrebro and I saw this billboard, and I think it brilliantly summarizes what I'm trying to say here. COVID-19, do not forget the climate crisis. So to sum up, consumers' attention has been shifted from overall welfare to economy this year. climate is still as relevant and as important as before. Although some of the focus has shifted, consumers still expect politicians and companies to take actions on climate issues. Once the pandemic is over, when the life is back to normal, Denmark is likely to increase the focus and expectations again. So, we have seen Corona might have impacted our focus this year, but it hasn't changed what we value. Consumers have been valuing Danish companies and the local businesses more and more. It is an increasing trend over the last decade and also from last year. They also value the companies that support sustainable business and take social responsibility. This year, there's a slight decrease in these, but it has been an increasing trend overall, and it's still very relevant even under the pandemic. In Denmark, thanks to the economic welfare, perhaps we could say that we've had the luxury of being able to focus on sustainability and other environmental issues. But when a crisis hits, the focus shifts a bit, but it comes up again. Perhaps we could say that when this pandemic is over, Danish consumers would likely to increase their focus and expectations again on the sustainable business. But why do consumers value ethical decisions? In order to understand this, we have segmented people according to their choices in their lifestyle. Eventually, we've come up with 4 lifestyle segments, which are climate, health, animal welfare, and fair trade. Within each of these 4 segments, we have even further subdivided consumers, whether they are frontrunners, meaning that they take actions in all most possible ways, or if they are active followers, then they take actions in many ways, whether they are passive followers, then they only take actions when it suits them, or if they're laggards. For instance, if the person is a climate laggard, then it means that they don't believe in climate change. And when we've done this analysis, we saw that a big portion of Denmark take actions in their life, at least in some ways. The biggest segment among these is the climate. Almost every 8 out of 10 people in Denmark take actions about climate in many ways. Also, compared to other segments, climate holds the biggest proportion of frontrunners. 37% of the population in Denmark is a climate frontrunner. Remember this figure later on, when Xiaoxi is going to take you on the traceability journey, then it will complete the puzzle a bit more. When we analyze the different demographic subgroups on these segments, we saw that income doesn't have any impact on these ethical values. Regardless of how much we earn, how much gets into our pocket at the end of the day, it doesn't define our ethical beliefs in Denmark. But we saw that younger generation is more likely to be the front runners and active followers. So the question is, in 10 years' time, will these become mainstream? We don't know it yet. But so far, we've seen that consumers value ethical decisions and their lifestyle supports this. So what can you do as a business in order to meet this consumer demand? This could be an opportunity for your business. If you haven't started yet, this might be a good time to start because the trend in this consumer behavior is accelerating. Let's have a look at traceability in more detail now. What is traceability? In short, traceability is the capability to trace back every step of a product from production, processing to distribution, which means you would know all the details of the specific traceable product. It's the life cycle of the product that starts from its extraction to production, through distribution to consumer consumption, and eventually its recycling. One of the ways to enable traceability is a technology called blockchain, which enables tracing back to each of the product stage. With this new technology, companies can ensure that the data is stored safe and no one is able to adjust the data. So this increases both safety and the trust that you would have from your consumers. What is the awareness of traceability among Danish public? 41% of the Danish consumers are aware of the term traceability. In order to ensure this awareness, we asked them a following question. It was an open-ended question, and when we analyzed these open-ends, we saw that 27% of the Danish public knows specifically what traceability means. This equals to a bit more than 1 out of 4 of the total population that has a knowledge about traceability. What about what they think of it? What they think of traceability today? Since traceability is still a new idea, many consumers don't specifically know what it can help with. There are some consumers who don't know, who don't care, or they think that it's too much information. However, it's clear that quite a lot of people think this is a good idea and it would help them to make better decisions. They think that traceability can help them to know about production process and transportation, which is also linked to their ethical beliefs and health-related decisions. I think we should also bear in mind that here we're looking at traceability at a very early stage in Denmark. For instance, 20 years ago, if we asked consumers about eco-label, the map we would get, it would probably also look somewhat like this. So, what can you bring all of this into together? You can bring full transparency to your business with traceability. This is an opportunity for you to provide consumers with these demands that they are looking for. Now, I'm going to hand over to Xiaoxi, and she's going to take you through more in depth about traceability.
Thank you, Kadia, and hello, everyone. So I'm going to take you through more details about traceability. So we already know what Danish consumers think of traceability. These are some initial thoughts. And furthermore, we want to explore what industries do they think are relevant to traceability. So we ask consumers to what extent are they interested in traceable products in these industries. So you can see the data here. We found out that all the 5 industries that we asked are somewhat relevant to traceability. This is claimed by consumers. We also want to deep dive into their current purchasing behavior. We want to know what consumers really look for in their purchases right now. So we actually want to evaluate what is the soft factor and what is the hard factor in their purchase decision making. So what is soft factor? We define soft factor as those factors that are more related to consumers' personal pursuits, such as ethical beliefs like climate, animal welfare, fair trade, etc., also health concerns. Whereas hard factors are those factors are more related to the product itself. So it's like traditional factors like price, functional benefits, taste, etc. And we actually conducted a massive exercises. This is a choice-based exercises so that we can truly discover what consumers look for in their purchases. We give consumers 5 to 7 items at a time and ask them to choose what is the most important and what is the least important among these attributes. And we tested it. We do it several times to make sure each element gets evaluated. And in the end, we will have a comparative score to compare how important are these elements. So now you can see the result here. it's quite clear that in electronics and clothing industries, hard factors are still quite dominating. But in personal care products and baby products, actually the proportion between soft and hard are like half and half. For food and beverage, it's something in between. But if you further deep dive into the subgroups in this industry, let's take an example for food and beverage here. So you can see that among youngers, the proportion of soft factors is actually higher than the general population. And among front runners, the proportion of soft factors are even bigger. They are as important as hard factors to them. So as we see here, we can never underestimate the power of soft factors. If this is, as Kadia said before, that Danish consumers will be more ethical after crisis, we actually should focus more on these soft factors. So what are the soft factors in food and beverage? Here in the pictures, you can find the signs of the picture indicate how important this soft factor is in food and beverage. So here, the top 3 soft factors are natural products, sustainable business, and animal welfare. But it does not mean that you should just neglect the elements on the right side, because there are already, especially front runners, think tracking ingredients and transparent communication will be also relevant. So we already talked about so many soft elements in food and beverage, and we already know that they do play a role in consumers' purchasing decision, especially among youngers and front runners. But do consumers think they have enough information to make the purchase decision? So we ask consumers if they're informed about those various areas to some extent. And you can see the highest one here is health impact. 51% respondents do think that they are informed to some extent, but this means another 49% respondents do not think they're well informed about these various factors. Especially, you can see transportation, working condition, it's only 24% respondents think they're informed somehow. And furthermore, there are about 30 to 40% people want to know more in those various areas. All in all, 87 respondents would like to be even further informed about food and beverage they purchase. So this makes us wonder, well, actually consumers do want to know more. Have brands in Denmark actually started to communicate these soft factors to consumers? After some depth research, we think the answer is yes. Let's take an example of FRILAND here. So as you can see that they are using a lot of various ways to communicate their values to consumers. The brand name is quite straightforward, and you can see their packaging have those animal pictures. And then it also have certificate mark logo. They also have open farm for visitors. This approach is actually adopted also for many brands, even as big international brands such as Arla. And on FRILAND'S website, there are detailed information on animal treatment and production process. It's also proven by many articles and video by them. And on social media, they also have account on Instagram and Facebook to post their daily life in a farm. Actually, this is not just a single cases here. There are many brands in Denmark are trying to communicate these values to consumers. Actually, we also found that most brands do have a section on their website telling about their actions towards climate, towards sustainable business, towards their healthy production process, etc. So why, if you remember, why do we still have a gap here? Why consumers don't really think they're well informed and they would like to know more? We think it might be relevant related to the preferred ways of gathering information about products. As you can see here, there are actually only 80% respondents prefer to get information on product from consumers' website. So even though you have a lot of detailed information on your website about those soft elements, but it's not necessary that people will go to your website and check out those things. Actually, on average, 2 channels in our list are preferred by consumers on average to gather information about products. These ones, like information on company's website, in-store display, reviews, these are more preferred by frontrunners. Frontrunners tend to use like multiple ways to really know details about their products. But for the mainstream, they are still looking at the product they are holding on hand. They focus on the information on the packaging. Hence, it's very important when you launch a new product or launch a new concept, you should test on these elements on the packaging to make sure these are the things that are important to consumers. And there's another interesting thing here is about this certification marks and the logos. It's the second most important and preferred way of gathering information about products. We want to explore more about this certification marks logos. We want to know the power of it in the mark. So let's look at 3 figures here. 79% consumers in Denmark use at least 1 logo in their purchase. And on average, they know 5.6 out of 13 logos that we showed them in the study. That's about like 43% of the logos. And they use 2.7 logos out of it as a guidance. The conversion rate here is like 48% from awareness to actual usage. Let's look at the same numbers, these KPIs, in climate frontrunners, which is actually, as Kadia mentioned about, that's like 37% of the population. 99%, almost everyone use at least 1 logo in their purchase. And they know 6.4 logos out of 13 logos in the study, and they use 3.6 logos. The conversion rate here is a bit higher from awareness to usage. It is like 56%. So you already can feel the power of certification logos and the marks in Denmark. Furthermore, we try to investigate different logos in Denmark. On the x-axis, it is awareness, and on the y-axis of this map, it is guidance. And you can see there is a line here. It means a conversion rate of 50% from awareness to guidance. So the logos that are above this line, they have a higher conversion rate. And lower than this line, they have a lower conversion rate. But as you can see in the map here, most logos are actually not really far away from this line. And the R-square here is 0.94, which means statistically, awareness and guidance are highly correlated. This is a very interesting information. It means even with those logos with low awareness, if you push their awareness, it can also turn into usage. It means among the people who know these logos, they do think they're important and they will use them as guidance. So think back about your business. Do you realize the power of these logo marks? Which logos do you think are relevant to your business? Which one you should put on your packaging? So next one, we will want to explore what might be more powerful in the future. How about a traceability logo with QR code? Actually, this has already been done in many countries. For example, Italy, they have this Spinoza dairy. They claim they're the first world mozzarella with blockchain technology, has full transparency. So consumers just need to use their phone to scan the QR code to know the details about the product they are holding on hand. In US, Walmart are doing the same thing. They are cooperating with IBM blockchain technology to trace back their oranges. And in Australia, people, with the help of this platform called OpenSC, they are able to trace back their fish. And by the way, Nestle here is also cooperating with OpenSC to trace their milk and palm oil. So as we can see that there are already many countries are doing this. They are doing the traceability logo with QR code. Will this also be a new trend in Denmark? Let's say, will these three elements are the future mainstream? And because you can see QR code can be also part of your packaging. So people just need to use their phone and scan it. It can direct the consumers to your word easier than before. So we already talked about so many examples worldwide. Will traceability actually benefit us? So at least CARREFOUR said so. You can see in 2019, they had 20 items that are traceable, and they plan to expand this to 100 traceable products in 2020. And on the picture on the left, you can see these are their traceable chickens on the left. And they claim that those traceable chickens sells better than non-traceable chickens. And this is a sentence from their blockchain manager. You're building a halo effect. If I can trust CARREFOUR with this chicken, I can also trust CARREFOUR for their apples and cheese. Yes, so traceability is very important because it can create trust from consumers to your companies. That's the biggest benefit you can get. So we talked so many examples worldwide. How about in Denmark? There are actually also the DTU University, together with the Danish Industry Foundation, they're investigating. They invest 3.6 million Danish kroner into the blockchain technology. They want to form the basis for labeling schemes that guarantee the authenticity of food products for the benefit of consumers. Hence, we can see that traceability is also germinating in Denmark. Furthermore, consumers in Denmark, they would like to pay a premium price for traceability. 30% out of Danish population, they agree that they would like to pay in something extra, 5 to 10% for traceable products. This proportion is even higher among youngers. And among frontrunners, this proportion can go high up to 56%. Let's recap here what we talked about traceability. First of all, Danish consumers do think traceability is a good idea that can help them to gather information and to make better purchase decisions. And they think that all the industries we mentioned are actually relevant to traceability to some extent. We also found that soft factors are already playing a role in their purchase, and it might be more important in the future. And we also found that the king of communication is still the packaging. It's still through packaging you should communicate your soft elements to consumers. Certificate and logos currently already have strong power on that, and QR code might be a future for traceability. All in all, traceability is germinating all around the world, and Denmark has a promising future in that regard. So this is the end of our presentation. If you need to bring 3 points with you today, that is these ones. First of all, climate is still relevant and important. We also see that consumers do value ethical decisions. And in the end, you need to think about traceability because that
We can send him. Yeah. Let me do it here.
the screen? Yes. Yeah. Maybe share again.
I'll share the screen again.
Sorry, we have a small technical issue with the deck. Just bear with us for 10 seconds.
I hope everybody can see the screen and hear us now. Yes. So basically, this is the end of our presentation. Thank you very much for listening to us. And don't forget that on 4th of June, we do have another webinar to talk about the consumer perception of packaging post-COVID-19, which is actually the exact point we talk about today. Packaging is so important right now. So thank you very much, and let us know if you have any questions.